South Korea is in serious trouble. This might sound dramatic, but the country is beginning to unravel demographically, economically, socially, culturally, and militarily. For decades, it's been facing the sharpest fertility crisis ever recorded in human history. And now we may have passed the point of no return. By 2060, the South Korea we know today may cease to exist. So, what does collapse actually look like, and why is it nearly impossible to stop? The real population bomb. To maintain a stable population, a country needs a fertility rate of around 2.1 children per woman. In the 1950s, South Koreans had an average of 6 kids. By the 1980s, the rate fell below 2. In 2023, it hit a record low, just 0.72. In Seoul, it's even worse, around 0.55. To put that in perspective, half of all women in Seoul won't have any children. The other half will likely have just one. Here's what that means in numbers. If fertility stays as it is, 100 South Koreans will have 36 children. They'll then have 13, and in the next generation, just 5. 100 people turn into 5 in 4 generations. Look at South Korea's population pyramid today. For every one 1-year-old, there are 4 50-year-olds. Despite 40 years below replacement rate, the effects have been mostly hidden. Population, GDP, and workforce numbers are still strong. But that's exactly how demographic decline works. Silent at first, then sudden and irreversible. South Korea is about to be hit head-on. Fast forward to 2060. Let's jump 35 years into the future. According to the United Nations, there are 3 main population forecasts: high, medium, and low fertility. Historically, the medium predictions for South Korea have been overly optimistic. In just 1 year, from 2022 to 2023, fertility fell another 8%. So, we'll use the UN's low fertility scenario, which has proven more accurate. By 2060, South Korea's population will shrink by 30%. That's 16 million people gone in just 3 decades. It will be the oldest nation in recorded history. Half the population will be over 65. Fewer than 1 in 10 will be under 25. Just 1 in 100 will be a small child. Imagine waking up in a country with silent streets, no kids playing outside, entire towns abandoned, and retirement homes overcrowded. A dwindling number of young people will be left to keep society running. Economic freefall. In 2023, about 40% of South Koreans over 65 lived in poverty. By 2060, that may seem generous. Right now, South Korea has one of the world's biggest pension funds, worth roughly $730 billion. But by the 2040s, it's expected to stop growing, and by the 2050s be fully depleted. That means in 2060, retirees will rely solely on the working population. For a pension system to function, you generally need 2 to 3 workers for every retiree. But even if everyone over 15 is working, there will be fewer than 1 worker per senior. It's not sustainable. Not only will poverty among the elderly be widespread, many may be forced to work, if they can even find jobs, because by 2060, South Korea's economy may have collapsed. Today, 37 million working-age people generate a GDP of $1.7 trillion. In 2060, that number will drop to 17 million. Even with rising productivity, GDP will likely peak in the 2040s before beginning a long and permanent decline. Some optimistic forecasts delay this until 2050, but those are based on the already invalidated medium fertility scenario. The economic impact goes beyond just GDP. Innovation and technological breakthroughs often come from younger generations. Fewer young people means fewer breakthroughs and far less tax revenue. This leaves the government in a trap, needing to support a massive elderly population with fewer resources. It may be forced to cut healthcare, education, or infrastructure entirely. Rural areas and small towns could be left behind as the country contracts into a few dense urban centers. And forget about investing in the future. There won't be money to spare. Social and cultural unraveling. Predicting cultural collapse is tricky, but some trends are already clear. Currently, 1 in 5 Koreans lives alone. Another 1 in 5 says they have no close friends or family. By 2060, 50% of 70-year-olds will have no siblings. Nearly a third will have no children. Young adults between 25 and 35 will make up only 5% of the population. Most will have no siblings and few social ties. The result? A staggering loneliness epidemic. And as society grays, its cultural lifeblood will wither. In 2000, there were 17.5 million Koreans aged 25 to 45, 37% of the population. This was the age group behind the K-wave, K-pop, K-dramas, Korean cuisine. By 2060, just 5.6 million people will remain in that group, only 16% of the population. Traditions already struggle to survive, and without youth to carry them forward, many will simply disappear. Imagine being a child in 2060. Your school might be empty, your university might have closed, your job prospects will be limited, and you'll be vastly outnumbered by retirees. If they don't want to live isolated lives, most young people will move to Seoul or even leave the country altogether. South Korea's rural regions will decay. Ghost towns will spread, something already happening in Japan, where nearly 10 million homes sit abandoned. Large swaths of South Korea may return to nature, security threats. And then there's the military. South Korea is still technically at war with the North. Today, 5% of military-age men serve. In 2060, to maintain the same numbers, that would need to triple, 15%. Can a country this old and this small still defend itself? Is there any way back? This all sounds bleak. So, is there any hope? The problem with demographic collapse is that once it begins, it's nearly impossible to reverse. Let's say South Korea somehow triples its fertility rate tomorrow. Even in that miracle scenario, 2060 will still bring a population bottleneck. Too few young, too many old. But there is a sliver of hope. In 2024, for the first time in 9 years, births rose by 3%. It's small, but meaningful. For that trend to continue, South Korea must confront its past choices. How did it get this bad? As nations get wealthier, healthier, and more educated, fertility tends to decline. But South Korea turbocharged these trends. It went from poverty to prosperity faster than nearly any country in history. But in doing so, it developed a hyper-competitive, overworked culture. Although the legal work week is 40 hours, capped at 52, unpaid overtime is rampant. The government even floated raising the cap to 69 hours. Despite this, wages remain low and living costs high. Real estate is unaffordable. Education is prohibitively expensive. Private tutoring is essential for university-bound students. At the same time, South Korea spends less on family support than most developed nations. Cultural norms don't help. In 2023, only 4.7% of births were outside of marriage, meaning single parenting is stigmatized. Gender roles are rigid. South Korean men do the least housework and childcare of any developed country. Women are expected to shoulder both a career and home life, and many men are crushed by the pressure to be sole providers. Starting a family becomes a nearly impossible choice. The result? A society that simply doesn't support children. Conclusion. Demographic collapse isn't a far-off theory. It's already here. And it's not just South Korea. China's fertility rate is 1.0, Italy and Spain sit at 1.2, Germany at 1.4, the UK and US at 1.6. That might sound better, but a rate of 1.6 still means a 60% population drop in 4 generations. A rate of 1.2 means 87% fewer people, and these numbers are still falling. The strange part? Almost no one is treating this like the existential threat it is. For decades, our focus was overpopulation. Now, anyone urging more births is seen as odd. But the math doesn't lie. This kind of population decline has never happened before. It threatens everything: our economies, cultures, societies, and way of life. Unless we act soon, really soon, to make raising children possible and desirable again, the rest of the 21st century may be defined not by growth but by disappearance. Because demographic collapse waits for no one.